The next hoax. Remember Russia, 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 impeachment number 1, impeachment number 2. They still think they can take Trump out. They're like cartoon characters after Roadrunner. Here they go again, and Joe Biden is actually musing out loud, according to the New York Times. Take a look. Published this weekend. As recently as late last year, Mr. Biden confided to his inner circle that he believed former President Donald J. Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted. Biden has said privately that he wanted Mr. Garland, the Attorney General, to act less like a ponderous judge and more like a prosecutor. And they think they have him on January 6th. No mention about how they're not going to account for the hundreds of riots that resulted in loss of life, loss of property, general disorder, versus the one solitary moment on January 6th. They're just going to look past all that and start applying pressure on Merrick Garland, who looks, quite frankly, like he could buckle under the pressure. Liberals have been coming after him for a long time, saying, what else do you need? Prosecute the president. Go for it. Do it. I think he's going to try to do it. I do. Over the weekend, the White House is saying, we have nothing to do about this. I don't believe them. Take a look.
I've never heard the president say that, advocate the prosecution of any person. Look, one reason why Joe Biden got elected was he promised that we take the decision over who got prosecuted and what away from the White House and put it in the Justice Department. Only Richard Nixon and Donald Trump in the modern era believed that prosecution decisions should be made in the Oval Office, not at the Justice Department.
Wait! He's forgetting Barack Obama and Joe Biden, who plotted, schemed in the Oval Office together. It is a matter of public record. January 5th, 2017, we have Peter Strzok's notes. They were trying to find a way to get General Flynn. Remember that phony baloney case? And Vice President Biden, what was he saying out loud? Get him on the Logan Act? The Logan Act is this flimsy law that's never actually enforced. It governs private citizens engaging in foreign policy, and it was totally not applicable. But Joe Biden said, sure, let's give it a shot. Everything seemed to be on the table, so much so that some people were uncomfortable with the meeting. Susan Rice afterwards wrote an email to herself. President Obama reiterated that our law enforcement team needs to proceed as it normally would. By the book. Now, why would she write that? And why would Barack Obama have to say that? I want you to get this, guy. But do it by the book, of course. I think the message was sent and received. Now, Joe Biden has lied about this. Ooh, in spectacular fashion. I love it when he just gets caught outright. Take a look.
So what did you know about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn, and was there anything improper done?
I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn, number one. Number two, this is all about diversion. This is a game this guy plays all the time.
I do want to press that. You say you didn't know anything about it, but you were reported to be at a January 5th, 2017 meeting where you and the president were briefed on the FBI's plan to question Michael Flynn over those conversations he had with the Russian ambassador Kislyak.
Now, I thought you asked me whether or not I had anything to do with him being prosecuted.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was aware that they asked for an investigation, but that's all I know about it.
That's all I know, that there was an investigation, even though 10 seconds ago I knew... What did he say? He said he knew nothing about the investigation, right?
So what did you know about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn, and was there anything improper done?
I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn.
Okay, knows nothing about the investigation. Moves to investigate Michael Flynn. 10 seconds later?
I thought you asked me whether or not I had anything to do with him being prosecuted.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was aware that they asked for an investigation, but that's all I know about it.
That's all I know. I only know about the investigation, which I just said I knew nothing about. Comes so easy to this guy, doesn't it? Lying. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that because Hunter is in trouble. Now, we've known for years this guy was bad news. We also know that Joe Biden is bad news. He's implicated in all of it. So you're going to see a lot of dishonesty. We saw some over the weekend by that Klain guy you saw a moment ago. This is the chief of staff who just might be running the country right now because Joe's not up to it.
I want to just be really clear. These are actions by Hunter and his brother. They're private matters. They don't involve the president.
They don't involve the president. That's not according to the witnesses. That's not according to the laptop. This is huge, and it's going to get huger. Tony Bobolinsky, anybody?
I was introduced to Joe Biden by Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. At my approximately hour-long meeting with Joe that night, we discussed the Biden's history, the Biden's family business plans with the Chinese, with which he was plainly familiar, at least at a high level.
Bobolinsky is a real person, naval veteran, successful businessman. He exists. He has a story to tell. Who knows? Maybe he's already told it to the grand jury. Joe Biden knows stuff. We know this, that Joe Biden showed up at a restaurant in Washington, D.C. when he was vice president to meet Hunter and some shady guys from Kazakhstan. And this was planned. Hunter, to his business associates, said the meeting is ostensibly about food security, because he was on some phony baloney World Food Organization. Ostensibly means officially, but it's really up to, it's about other things. Dad will be there, but keep that between us for now. How about that, huh? And of course, Burisma, a high-profile, prominent Burisma official, thanked Hunter for arranging a meeting, inviting him to D.C. and giving an opportunity to meet your father, and spent some time together. His English isn't so hot. This is Vadim Parzarsky. He is an official, or was an official, with the board of Burisma. Maybe Burisma did, after all, as I believe, really want that prosecutor out of power in Ukraine. His name was Shokin. Here he is. And here Joe Biden is on the phone with the president of the country trying to get this guy out of power.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign.
Great.
And this is my second step for keeping my promises.
I agree.
His promise to do Joe a favor and get rid of the prosecutor, and the president makes a point to say, even though the guy did nothing wrong, I'm doing this as a favor to you. In all of Joe Biden's 8 years as vice president, I wonder if he ever picked up the phone and tried to get a prosecutor fired anywhere in the world other than Ukraine, where his son was working for a significant company, and the company was known to have issues with that prosecutor. No wonder why Joe gets so touchy, so offended when anybody brings any of this up.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum.
You know, when you're running for a big office, you get asked questions about all kinds of things. This one always set him off. And I think that's a giveaway. Don't you? It always did set him off.
How is your role as vice president in charge of policy in Ukraine and your son's job in Ukraine? How is that not a conflict of interest?
It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else. Period. I'm not going to respond to that. Let's focus on the problem. Focus on this man, what he's doing that no president has ever done. No president.
The anger, the defensiveness, the aggression, all of it. I think he's really vulnerable. He knows it. I know it. You know it. We know it. And that's why he wants to go after Trump. That might solve a lot of problems. What's that quote again from the New York Times this weekend? Mr. Biden believed former President Donald J. Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted. Calling him that, a threat to democracy, potentially gives the president a lot of power to stop a threat to democracy. It's all a lie, of course. And the idea that President Trump is responsible for January 6th, I'd like to go to the swamp. A career prosecutor wrote for the Wall Street Journal in 2021, early 2021, the president did not commit incitement or any other crime. The president did not mention violence on Wednesday, much less provoke or incite it. This guy's job was prosecuting people for starting riots. When Mr. Trump spoke, there was no public disturbance, only a rally. The disturbance came later at the Capitol by a small minority who entered the perimeter and broke the law. And by the way, some of them, as we've all seen, were allowed to enter the perimeter, were allowed to enter the Capitol. We've got to get those issues settled. So, don't forget also, President Trump urged people to go home all afternoon via Twitter and a statement at 4:17. Go home, we love you, but you got to go home, respect law enforcement. Remember all that? They're hoping you don't, and they're hoping that this Merrick Garland guy buckles, and I think he will, actually. He doesn't look very strong. He's already politicized the Justice Department big time, and I think he's going to do the president's bidding, because right now, Joe Biden is desperate. He's scared. The entire presidency seems to be crumbling. He clearly can't handle the job. And here's where Donald Trump made a big mistake. In 2016, he talked tough, and this is you have to be this tough, actually. Do you remember the debate with Hillary Clinton, this moment?
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
That was something. But unfortunately, and I love President Trump, and I hope he comes back, it was a line. It worked, helped him win the debate, win the election. But when it came time to governing, he didn't make good on that. In some ways, he's a very nice guy. He's not as ruthless as they say.
You called her crooked Hillary, said you wanted to get in jail. Your people in your audiences kept saying, lock him up.
Yeah.
She did
some bad things. I mean, she
did
some bad things.
I know, but a special prosecutor?
I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt them. They're good people. I don't want to hurt them.
He's got a good heart. But they want to hurt you, Mr. President. And I think you got to get them to the full extent of the law, all right, whatever the law allows here, because they play for keeps. It's a lesson possibly you should learn from their playbook.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. Experts are warning the current 40-year inflation high will only get worse. See how to protect your IRA with gold. Get a free info kit like this one at birchgold.com/Newsmax. There's no cost. There's no obligation. Just get your free info kit at birchgold.com/Newsmax.